Hey there, welcome to a brand new episode of Muzikxpress. My name is Twan, and in this week's log you will see my interview with Mark Sherry. We discussed a lot of things during the interview. We actually start with some more background information about the track Operation Blade Based in the Place, which came out in the year 2000 under the project name Public Domain. Then we talk about the brand new Mark Sherry artist album Confirm Humanity. And we talk a little bit as well about Gentech, and that is a project that Mark did together with no one else than Scot Project. Enjoy! Mark Sherry was born on March 20, 1975 in Ayr, Scotland. He's a DJ, producer and also the owner of the label Outburst Records. He's active in the music scene for a long time already and mostly known for his tech trance sound. On May 17, his debut artist album Confirm Humanity will come out. So a good reason to sit down with Mark to talk with him about the new album. Plus we discussed the story behind one of his classics, Public Domain and Operation Blade as well. My first question to Mark was at what age he did start with producing music.
I think I started around, I must have been about 17. I was a raver. I was going out raving every weekend, and there was a DJ called Trevor Riley who was a big name in Scotland, and he was the resident DJ in this club called Hangar 13, and he knew that I could play keyboards, but he knew like how to use Cubase and use all the production stuff in the studio that I didn't know how to use at that point. So once he found out that I could play the keyboards, he said to me, look, I've got a studio in Glasgow. I don't really know how to play the keyboards, but you do, so do you want to come up and we'll have like a jamming session? So that's what we did, and off the back of that we started a kind of happy hardcore thing called the Casio Brothers, and that was like a way back in the day. I think it must have been 1994, 1995, the first thing we worked together as a kind of group. But yeah, before that I'd had no experience with production at all. I'd gone through my piano grades and how to play the keyboard. My mum and dad helped me going through tuition with how to learn how to play the piano and keyboard, so that was my first introduction to giving me the skills that I've got now. Yeah.
Were there any tracks or artists that you were influenced by then?
The Club Hangar 13 I was telling you about, that was like a big deal in my local town, and they were the first club really in Scotland to start booking like a lot of the international DJs like Die Witness, Ramirez, Hardfloor, guys from Germany from Hardfloor. So they were like bringing in all the big European acts. So I was heavily influenced by those guys, because it was like, back then it was like music that you'd never heard before. It was just like mind-blowing stuff. You were hearing all these big rave sounds and Hoovers and stuff like, the Human Resource guys as well. They used to play in this club, and so I was really influenced by the Dutch guys, the Belgian guys. There was so much good music back then. A lot of the Spanish and Italian guys as well, like Dance Floor Corporation, DFC Records. Tracks like Glam House Party, all the Ramirez stuff. So it was an amazing time for music. Like half my garage back home was like full of all this real classic vinyl from that era, from like 1990 up until later. Yeah.
In the year 1999, you formed the act Public Domain. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, it all kind of kicked off after the Casio Brothers thing and kind of died away, and I'd kind of moved away from like hardcore and the harder stuff. I was looking for something else to do, and I was actually out one night in my local town in Ayr, and I bumped into a couple of guys, and I didn't know these guys at all, but they knew me through the gigs that I'd done locally, and they knew me through the Casio Brothers and stuff. So they said, look, we've just completed a college course in audio engineering at the SEE College in Glasgow, and they said, how do you feel about combining the kit that we've got and trying to do some stuff together? And I was like, yeah, well, I said, I've got like two keyboards, what have you got? And they said, well, we've got a big computer, we've got 2 or 3 different keyboards, let's just throw it all together and see what we can come up with. And at that time I was resident in a club called the Metro, and I was talking to Bram, my manager, earlier. It was this big old converted cinema, and it was one of these clubs where you had the full balcony round about you and the big high stage and people behind you, and it was just like complete chaos. So I'd been to see the film Blade, and I heard the Pump Panel remix of New Order Confusion in the film Blade, and I thought, I've got that in vinyl. So I went home, dug it out, and I started playing it in this club every week. And I don't know why, but for some reason I was looking for some acapellas to scratch over the top, because I used to do a lot of scratching and tricks and stuff. And I came across the acapella of Flavor Flav and Chuck D from Public Enemy saying "Bass for your face, London." It wasn't bass in the place; it was bass for your face. So I was playing the big Blade track and scratching over the top of it, and the club was going absolutely crazy every time I did it, every Saturday night. And I thought, so this makes a great idea, to do a track together. So I told the guys, James Allen and Alistair McIsaac, I said, look guys, I've got an idea for a track. You might think it's really random and strange, but trust me, I think we could really do something with this. And that was the first track we did together. We just took the Blade sample, added some kick drums, percussion, added all our synths together. James had the JP8000 at the time, which I've now got 2 of them as well. But James had the JP8000, I had the Roland XP10, we had an MC303 little like percussion kind of like drum machine. So we just combined everything that we had, all these ideas, and that Operation Blades was like just bang, it just happened really, really quickly, and that was the first track we did together. It started off as a really like basic demo, but obviously after playing it out for a few times we started developing it and making it into the final version that ended up getting released.
You already said that the track contains a sample from the New Order track Confusion. Was it difficult to get that one cleared?
Yeah, it was difficult and it was very expensive. we gave away a lot of money to Public Enemy and also New Order because we had to get both samples cleared. But the first thing we did was release it as a white label. So we didn't need any clearance, we just pressed it up. I think we pressed up maybe like, I don't know, I think off the top of my head it was maybe like 5,000 vinyl just to get it out there to the shops and stuff. And Judge Jules picked up on it obviously, and he played it for, it must have been about 12, 13, 14 weeks in a row, like every single week in his show in Radio 1 he was playing it, and off the back of that it got signed to Slinky Records, and then off the back of that it got signed to Extravaganza, which was obviously Alex Gold's label, and they started the label Extra Hard, which was the main label that was kind of dedicated to the harder styles of trance, because obviously they had Chicane and Agnelli Nelson and these other guys, which our music didn't really, even though I loved those guys, I love the productions, I still love the productions, Alex didn't think it was right to release public domain on Extravaganza, so he launched the label Extra Hard, and that's how it kind of all started. But once it was signed officially to Extravaganza, then that's when we had to say, right, okay, we need to sit down and start talking to publishers and talking to record labels to get the actual clearance so we could release it as a commercial, an actual official release.
As you just said, Operation Blade got a lot of support from Judge Jules, who played it for 12 weeks in a row in his radio show.
Yep.
Did you guys expect this massive amount of support?
No, not at all. It was a track that was written for the dance floor, and not even the fact that it became a hit, it was the fact that it wasn't daytime radio music, but that was the last thing we expected, It was like a track made for the dance floor, made for clubbers, made for a track at 2-3 o'clock in the morning. It was not meant for people setting their radio alarm clocks and waking up to go to work and hearing Blade, which actually happened to me one day. I woke up and my alarm went off and Operation Blade was playing at like 6 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, this has got absolutely crazy. This is the last thing we expected, Sometimes that's what happens with commercial music sometimes.
Operation Blade became a big hit in the UK Top 40 chart as well, and Public Domain also did perform at Top of the Pops. That must have been a pretty crazy but exciting time for you guys.
Yeah, our whole careers, like especially my DJing career, like our careers went like basically like that, right up to the top. Unfortunately, it only lasted a few years and then we came crashing back down again. But in that time, it was intense, heavily intense, but we had a great time. The touring was just like crazy. We were going from like Ibiza to Russia. We played at Planet Dance in Russia. Then we went back to Ibiza. Then we went to Australia for a month, and it was constant, absolute chaos. We had an amazing time, but yeah, it's a blur. It was just such a real crazy time. It's hard to remember exactly what we did in that short space of time, but we really enjoyed it.
That's the most important.
Yeah.
I've heard the video for the track was filmed in Bournemouth at the Opera House. I guess this was also the first time you guys did an actual video.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, it was quite funny because I'd never done anything like that before, and I was like, what am I going to do in a video? But then the guys, the video team, pulled us to the side and said, look, we're actually going to shoot this video in Slinky, in the Opera House, when you're DJing. We're going to set the guys up on the stage with the keyboards, so you don't actually have to do anything. We've got I think they actually had the crowd from Slinky actually come in to the club to let the people in for free. So we had like an instant crowd. I think there was maybe like 100 people there, 150 people. So all I had to do was just pretend I was DJing, so I had the headphones on and just doing my usual fist pumping and stuff. But, so it wasn't like, I didn't feel as if I was in a music video. And they had the camera crew, had the big massive cranes that swept across the crowd and stuff. So it was a good buzz, really, really good fun.
So when did you guys start with performing as public domain?
The first gig we did was in, I think it was 2001, and I was talking to Mallorca, the guy that was in the band with us. He was the front man. He wasn't an initial member, but he joined the band later on. But I was talking about this with him the other day. Our first gig together was actually at Gatecrasher as a band, so we're like right in at the deep end, you know. We hadn't really had any experience with doing any big gigs like that before, so we went from being like just 3-4 young local guys to being like on the main stage at Gatecrasher, playing at one of the big massive, I think it was the Gatecrasher Summer Sound System it was called, so maybe like 10,000 people at I think it was the NCE venue in is it Birmingham, I think, either Manchester or Birmingham, and that was our first experience as playing together as public domain, so it was quite a shocking experience, but a good experience.
What is the craziest thing that ever happened on tour?
I think I've told this a few times in an interview, but it's the one that always sticks in my head. I was basically DJing, we had public domain, we did the live show, and I think towards the end of the live show, the end of the performance was me to DJ for maybe like 30 minutes, but the band were still on stage with us. And we were on a fortress in the middle of the Russian Sea, playing at an event called Fort Dance, I think it was called. And so I was DJing, and they let off these big fireworks, and it was an amazing night. You know, it was a clear blue sky, the sun was just starting to come up, these fireworks are going off, everybody's having a great time. And then somebody stopped on the dance floor, and they started like pointing up at me, like, you know, and shouting stuff at me, but it was all in Russian, so I didn't know what was going on. And then I looked up, and the canopy that was covering the DJ box had gone completely into flames because one of the fireworks had landed on top of the canopy. So I was like, our tour manager Jimmy was really, really drunk, and he was standing at the side of the stage. I was like, Jimmy, come here, the DJ box is on fire. So he's like running around like crazy, he didn't know what to do, and then he found like a big like fire extinguisher. But the venue that we were, the fortress that we were on was like from the World War II. So I don't know how old this fire extinguisher was, but he'd found this really old looking fire extinguisher, and he pulled the nozzle, and the nozzle came off in his hand, and he's like, ah shit, what are we gonna do now? And then all of a sudden these like young kind of Russian helper guys that obviously had built the stage, they started like climbing up and started trying to like shake out the fire, and by this point it was like hot plastic was like dripping on me and dripping on the decks, and I was like, shit, this is crazy. But yeah, that's the one that sticks out in my head. That was a really mad night in Russia, St. Petersburg.
If you have to pick one favorite memory you have from the release of Operation Blade, what would that be and why?
I think playing on Top of the Pops was just, you know, that was absolutely crazy. That's the last thing we expected to get out of that track, because you know, as I said, it was written for the dance floor. It was a kind of banging hard trance, hard house type track, and we didn't ever expect it to become as big as it did. So to be on Top of the Pops in like Mallorca Lee shouting, make some noise, Top of the Pops, it was just a real surreal moment, you know. And from that as well, we did the Pepsi chart show, and we did like a big awards thing in London called the Dance Star Awards, and you know, it's just, I had so many crazy things that we did back then. But Top of the Pops is like, that's just an amazing thing, because it's something I've watched. I'd watched it since I was like, you know, 3, 4, 5 years old, and I used to sit on my mum and dad's couch with my keyboard on my lap, and with my dad's big massive headphones on, you know, playing along to the theme tune of Top of the Pops. So to go from that to actually being somebody performing on it was absolutely incredible, you know.
In 2009, now 10 years ago, you left the public domain project to focus on your solo career. And you just finished your album Confirm Humanity, which will be out soon. Since this is your debut artist album, I'm sure you're super excited about it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, like in 2009, I'm still good friends with James. None of us don't really we don't really keep in touch with Alistair anymore. He moved away to Poland. I'm still really good friends with Mallorca. Still really good friends with James. You know, I share my studio complex with James. He's in the room next to me. So when I left in 2009, there was no animosity, no hard feelings. I just decided it was time to kind of start focusing on my own career. And so yeah, it's taken me a long time to get to this point where I felt, I suppose, not just like confident enough, but happy enough with my own sound to make my own album under my own name. So it's taken me a long time to get to this point, but I'm really happy that it's done now, and I'm just looking forward to it getting released. It's out a week on Friday, the 17th of May, and there's 18 tracks on there, and it's the full range of trance and like tech trance and stuff that I'm known for. There's some techno on there as well, so it's a good broad range of all the styles that I love to make in the studio.
What can you tell us about the concept behind Confirm Humanity?
Well, the title comes from, you know how sometimes nowadays when you try and log into a website, it gives you this page and it says you must confirm humanity, and you've got the little box to tick to say you're not a robot. And I thought, you know, it's quite scary the fact that we've actually reached the point in civilization where we have to prove that we're not a robot to get into a website. You know, it's like Terminator type thing. You know, like Blade Runner. You know, it's like quite a scary thought. So once this happened to me, and I ticked the box, my brain just started like sparking up with all these little ideas, and I thought that's a great name for an album. And I'd been thinking, what am I going to call my first album? And then Confirm Humanity come up, and it was just like really unexpected, and I thought that's a really cool name. So from that, I just started developing tracks that kind of fitted in with the theme of that.
The album contains 18 tracks, which is quite a lot for an album these days. I bet it took a really long time to finish the entire album.
Yeah, from start to finish, I'd say the guts of 2 years. I'd say 18 months of production, but if you add in all the extra time that I needed, probably because I was doing a lot of touring as well, but trying to come up with the themes and the ideas and gathering the samples that I needed to complete the tracks, you're probably talking about 2 years. There's one of the tracks on there that I made with David Forbes. It's called Yerba del Diablo. That was finished in 2017, so it's going back like 2 years worth, you know. So it's been a long time to get to this point, but I knew that because it's my first artist album, I had to be up there. It had to sound as good as it possibly could be. So I'm glad that I took enough time. Back in the day, you couldn't have done that because, you know, if we're still signed to a bigger label like we were back in the days with public domain, you know, I would have had a lot less time to do that. Because I've got my own label now and I've got a lot more time to kind of take my time and make sure things are done correctly, then I just thought, well, if I'm going to do this, it's my first album, it has to be as perfect as I can get it. So that's why I spent as long making it. You know.
You already mentioned David Forbes. Other collabs on the album are with people such as Richard Durand and Tempo Giusto, amongst others. What can you tell about the collaborations on the album?
You know, these are guys that I've been friends with David since back in the early 90s. We've got we're kind of the same people. You know, we've came from the rave days right up to what we do now. We both love techno, we both love trance, tech trance, uplifting trance. We like the exact same musical tastes. So it was an easy suggestion, an easy idea to work with Davey. The same with Tempo Giusto. You know, I've got a lot in common with Tempo. He loves the kind of harder, kind of techier stuff. So we did that track together. And I actually had a gig in Finland last year, and I said to Thomas Tempo beforehand, I said, look, I'm coming to Finland to play Circus nightclub in Helsinki. I said, do you want to try and hook up, and, you know, I'll come to yours and we can try and do a track together. So we did that, and I suppose like every collab that I did on the album, it was kind of based around my tours and where I was working and who I felt comfortable enough to work in a studio with. Unfortunately, I'm going to give the HP Source guys a mention because I actually worked with them in the studio in Adelaide when I went to Australia, but unfortunately, after all the tracks were put together, that was the track that was the most kind of underdeveloped. We'd only had like one day, maybe like, I don't know, 6 or 7 hours to work with each other, so the track wasn't ready. I didn't have enough time to go back to it to finish. So the other tracks that are on there, you know, like Cosmic Dawn with Richard Durand, that was a track that we'd previously worked on together. The tracks with Vlind from Mexico and Ross Ferguson. Like, Ross is a really good Glaswegian vocalist that I know, and blind. We didn't actually get in the studio together, but we bounced around stems back and forth, over the space of maybe 6 months, and we got the track up to the point where it was perfect for the album. So I've had a lot of good time, working with different people, just trying to combine our sounds. But all the guys that I work with, we're all kind of like-minded with music. We all like the kind of techier stuff and the slightly tougher sounds of trance.
There are also some vocal tracks on the album. You did work with people such as Christina Novelli and Marcella Woods, for example. The track Lightning Fires with Christina came out not too long ago. How have the reactions on that one been?
Yeah, it's been really good. We shot the video for that last week as well, which it kind of ties in with this interview, because I haven't done an interview since, haven't done a music video since the public domain days. So again, the video team said to me, have you had any experience with doing videos? And I'm like, it's been about 17 years since I've done a video. And the guy said, well, what do you feel comfortable doing? I said, well, please make 70% of the video focused on Christina and 30% to me, because I'm quite happy standing in the background, because it was shot in a warehouse and it wasn't like a club environment, so I felt quite exposed. I didn't really want to do too much. So apart from that, the response has been great. Armin's picked up on it a lot, with a lot of other really big DJs supporting it, and it's out now in Beatport, and it's climbing up the charts today. So I'm hopefully going to work again with Christina. She's definitely one of the best vocalists out there. She's really, really easy to work with, and just really humble, and very, very talented. She's one of the few vocalists where you don't really need to touch her vocal very much. I think I put a little slice of reverb and a little slice of delay and compression on her vocal, and then just bang, it was ready to put in the track. So it was really, really good to work with.
I guess this is not an easy question, but which track of the album is the most special for you? I'd say, Confirm Humanity is that's the main track in the album, and for me that kind of defines my sound, because I'm heavily influenced by space and sci-fi, as you probably know, Music of the Earth in the past and Pillars of Creation. My main style of trance is tech trance, and these tracks that really reflects my main style. But also I managed to get permission to remix the Tiesto track, Carp Noctem. So on a personal level, for me to have a track by Tiesto on the album, and to get the official clearance from him and his management, is that means a lot to me. That was the final icing on the cake to get that on there. You're a very active person. Besides being a DJ and producer, you also do a lot of mastering, and you also run your own label, Outburst Records, which you started back in 2014. Are you doing all the A&R for the label yourself?
Yeah, I do all the A&R. All the A&R is done by myself. But Stuart Jackson is my label manager, so he deals with all the contracts and the kind of admin type stuff and the promotion. He does a lot of stuff. He's he won't mind me saying this, but he's a real big nerd when it comes to the algorithms and Facebook and the whole back end of the stuff. He's just a crazy wizard when it comes to social media. So he's really good to have on my side. But all the A&R, it's me that's signing all the tracks. If I hear a track that's maybe 70% finished, then I'll sometimes I'm spending weeks or months going back and forward with that person until I get the track to a certain point that fits the label, and it's the kind of standards is, for me, I think it's high enough to release in the label. So there's a lot of work goes on with that. But it's something I do a lot of that when I'm travelling. It gives me something to do when I'm travelling. The mastering side of things, I always do my mastering jobs first thing in the morning. So I'll go to the studio maybe 9-10 o'clock in the morning, and I'll treat it like an office job. I'll work from 9 until 6. So I'll get all my mastering jobs done first thing in the morning, and then whatever time I get finished, I'll just spend the rest of the day doing my own production and focusing my own singles and stuff. A&R stuff and emails I'm usually doing when I'm travelling, or maybe 1 hour, 2 hours at night time when I'm kind of a bit more relaxed and I've got my feet up on the couch.
Busy times.
Yeah.
Now the album is done, do you already have your next project in mind?
Well, I'm kind of focusing on Gentech just now, because I've got a project called Gentech that I do with Scot Project, and it's my 25th year as a DJ this year, so it's my 25th anniversary. But it's also the same for Frank, Scot Project. He's been doing it for 25 years as well. So last year, Jeff Ryan from Dream State was basically speaking to Bram, my manager, and also speaking to Bo from Luminosity, because Bo managed Frank at the same time, and because Bo and Bram are both Dutch, it was an easy connection for them to make, because Jeff said, well, we want Mark to go back to back with somebody to create a special new project for Dream State. So Bo said, well, why don't we team, I think it was actually Bram said, why don't we team Mark and Frank together? So anyway, that was how Gentech was born. But we're playing at EDC next week, which is on the same day the album gets released. So we've got about maybe 4 or 5 days, maybe 6 days over the next few days to try and get some new stuff finished for that performance. So I'm actually remixing one of Frank's old tracks, he's remixing one of my old tracks, and we're actually working on a new Gentech single as well, because we released a track called Feel My Love as Gentech on Dream State recordings a few months ago, and that was the first ever Gentech single. So we're now trying to come up with a follow-up. So there's a lot of pressure on us to perform well at EDC, but we want to try and have some new music ready for that as well, because it's the Dream State stage that we're playing on. It's called Quantum Valley, so that's going to be a good gig for us.
Any more Gentech gigs in the works?
I'm trying to think. Yeah, we're playing as Gentech at the Euphoria Festival, which I think's on the 6th and 7th of July. So that's going to be happening, and there are other ones, but we can't tell you about those yet, unfortunately.
If you could pick one producer or vocalist you could still work with, who would that be?
That's a tough one. Producer-wise, just purely for the fact that he's heavily influenced me for so long, is Mauro Picotto, and I'd love to see Marco V as well. I've actually spoken to Marco, so I think, you know, maybe if I can get Mauro into the studio, maybe he's going to come over to Glasgow to do some gigs or something. I'd like to get him in just to do a track with him for old time's sake, because he knows how much I love him and his sound and the old BXR releases. So it'd be amazing to get him into the studio, or maybe I could do something over with him in Italy. But Marco V as well. You know, I'm a big fanboy of Marco. I've loved his stuff for years and years. And for me, these guys, they put the stamp on tech trance back in the day. They were the first producers that I heard of that were making real big, like, rumbly techno tracks, but then all of a sudden a melody would come in and then it would go back to the tech. So that, to me, that's what tech trance is all about. So for me to work with one of my idols from back in the day, it'd be really good. And Marco's obviously doing stuff for Outburst already, so I think it'd be quite an easy one to do.
Is there still anything on your bucket list, music-wise?
Just I want to do more techno. I've obviously been focusing on the album for such a long time. I want to do more techno. I've got a techno project called Thick as Thieves that I do with David Forbes. So I want to try and focus on doing more techno for my techno label Techburst. So I want to really try and dedicate more time to working with Davey and trying to develop the sound that we've got with Thick as Thieves. But again, going back to the rave days, the techno that I'm doing with Davey is very heavily influenced by the old rave sound, which is coming back round again, you know. So I loved your interview that you did with Guido from Human Resource, so we'll get some of those hoovers in there.
Thank you very much for your time and good luck with everything.
Thanks a lot, Twan.
Alright, that was it, this week's vlog, my interview with Mark Sherry. Mark, thank you very much for your time, much appreciated. Good luck with the album release. Thank you guys for watching, I hope you enjoyed the vlog. If you did, make sure to give this video a like, leave a comment in the comment section below, and make sure to subscribe. Once again, thanks for watching, and until next time, bye bye.